move on to the next thing.
Yes, the Arizona Autobahn. So currently there's legislation
You heard
that's been proposed in Arizona that will return the speed limit in like rural areas, which is like 50,000 people or less in like towns in these areas, to reasonable imprudent, which means there is no speed limit. Now, there are going to be larger alleged de-restricted parts of highway. But the thing is, this is a proposal. This is something they want to test. There's a pretty good chance this legislation gets killed anyway. But what I found that was interesting about this is like with the de-restricted like spots, they're saying it's going to be de-restricted during the day and 80 miles an hour at night, which is kind of, which I accept. And like there are pretty large stretches of Arizona you just want to get through. There ain't nothing there. You're not going to hit anything.
Welcome to my life.
Yeah, you know this better than anybody, but imagine you being able to rip on like an Autobahn in a German car kind of thing.
You get excited. Remember, in Montana, that's what happened. That's what killed it.
Right. So, well, yes. So
reasonable and prudent, is that the rule?
Reasonable and prudent, yes. Now, if this works, they're going to do a test. They want to propose. They propose that they're going to do a test on Interstate 8 between Casa Grande and Yuma for a year. Is the proposed.
That's not the section I do.
Yes,
I know.
It is.
I know if I'm going to my in-laws, we leave the 8 in Yuma, which makes sense. We don't really drive through
That's
Arizona.
the thing. You're complaining about this, but you
I
don't do it.
would go through Phoenix instead.
I drive the full way through
I
Arizona
would go through Phoenix
every
17.
single year.
I would do that.
Well,
for that.
if this works, they said they would expand it to large sections of the Interstate 10, 17, 19, and 40, as well as a pretty large section of the 15.
I want them to do it just for the 2-lane roads, the 95 from
so
Yuma
dangerous.
to Quartzsite.
They're never gonna do that.
And then all the roads from Quartzsite to Prescott. That'd be great.
This is interesting. It's interesting. I have a strong suspicion we'll pass. You know, it's funny because Arizona is actually one of the most heavy enforcement states about speed laws. You know, Arizona is a pretty conservative state, and those states really empower the police. And it's incredible when you drive through Arizona. I mean, I'm just scared, especially as a Californian. You put your cruise control on a little over the speed limit, and if you go over 90 in Arizona, it's like a felony. It's so insane. The laws are just so draconian about speed. It's laughable that they, of all places, would come up with this.
Right. Well, they're citing other states. So right now there are 9 states that have speed limits over 80. They're also looking at Montana, which has said that even with higher speed limits, they have not seen significantly higher crash rates. Now, that does not apply to the national average, which has seen an increase in death rates from traffic accidents since 2019. So I don't really know exactly how this would pan out. I would be interested, of course, if they test this. I think it's fascinating especially for you. And, you know,
I would change my route.
I will say this. As someone who actually drives on the roads in
I
discussion.
drive on a lot of state roads.
The state roads, it'll never happen. It'll only be on the interstates. I promise
Also,
you. There will never be a 2-lane road
Effectively
ever.
unrestricted. Turns out when you have visibility for miles in every direction.
Well, that's the other thing. Rural Northeast Nevada, those are de-restricted. There aren't police. So like, but
we do not advise doing anything of the sort.
one of the things that I've learned though, driving through the middle of nowhere, which I spent an enormous amount of time in my life doing this. No one's in the middle of nowhere with a Ferrari ready to go 150.
Nope.
You could make the speed limit whatever. Nobody cares. They're going to go what they feel comfortable. And I was thinking about this with my driving cross country with my dog and all my stuff. Would I speed it up? Not really. I would probably still go whatever I go, which is probably 80, 85. I don't know.
Wow.
You'd feel comfortable maybe overtaking someone at 100 or whatever. But like, I think also, I mean, at least from my experience on the German Autobahn this summer, you kind of get it out of your system. And then when you have to drop the speed back down, you're fine with it. Like, it's like, yeah, it's fine. But you like to cruise like at 130 kilometers an hour, which is about 80.
In Germany, you have these Autobahns between cities people actually are trying to get between.
Right.
But in the States, like if you're driving on I-40 there between northern Arizona off through New Mexico, Albuquerque, like there's not like people who are doing that drive. It's all big trucks and people on long road trips. And no one's sitting there trying to... So like this is a cool idea and I think it's neat and it would be fun as a car enthusiast, but they'll still cite people for going really fast. And it's the people who are going to use it already are probably doing this.
Right.
They're going as reasonable and prudent as they feel is reasonable and prudent.
I don't disagree with that. Nonetheless, an interesting case. We'll see if it gets to, if they pass this, if they test this, and we'll just see what happens. Now, but I would love to see the circle with the slashes in it. Would be cool.
Oh, well, when Montana did it, there were 2 signs. One said speed limit, day speed limit, reasonable and prudent, night speed limit, whatever it was.
Reasonable and prudent is a long set of words to put on a speed limit.
Yeah.
Sign.
Well, so is speed limit. It all works. But remember how it ended in Montana is someone got cited in a Camaro going 100. And he argued that was reasonable and prudent. And he took it all the way to the state Supreme Court. And eventually it was decided this is silly to have to litigate this. Let's just make a darn speed limit.
Don't disagree.
Anyway, regardless, it may not pass.
It's very likely it won't pass, but nonetheless pretty cool. And
interesting
one can
people
dream.
are talking about it.
One can dream.
We got any more news? Are you ready for your next cool car? Sell your enthusiast car on Cars and Bids. Trading in your car to dealers means you aren't getting market value for your car, leaving you with less cash for your next fun car. Just look at our recent sales of these cool cars compared to current trade-in value. This is a trade-in offer, and this was the Cars and Bids result. This is a trade-in offer, and this was the Cars and Bids result. This is the trade-in offer, and this is the Cars and Bids result. Get started now on carsandbids.com. Sell on Cars and Bids and join the best community to sell your enthusiast car.